Hello, Ron Fabiani here, and thank you for the first installment of the Chicago Paranormal Cop. On this show, I'm going to be talking about the backstory, history, and other behind-the-scenes type things that took place filming Paranormal Cops and how the original organization of the Chicago Paranormal Detectives was formed and why. The backstory of how we got onto television and everything in between. Back in the early 2000s, I was a police sergeant in a western suburb of Chicago. And there was a bar that had a couple different names depending on the theme of the evening. Sometimes it was called Noah Noah, sometimes it was called Nitro, and sometimes it was called Club Energy. And they would advertise on the radio stations and stuff, and kids from all over Chicagoland would frequent this place. And I knew the doorman there and a couple guys that worked there, and these were tough guys. These were not pushovers. They were working at a bar in a rough western suburb. And one evening in particular, one of the doormen reached out to me that he had been experiencing things in this bar late at night after it was closed and after it was empty, and it unnerved him. He was a Mexican guy, good guy. He'd been shot 5 times, so he wasn't afraid of much. And he contacted me and told me things he was feeling, seeing, hearing. And a lot of people judged him and made fun of him. I was calm and tried to be non-judgmental and hear him out. And many of the reports of things that he experienced were quite over the top. I returned with a night vision camcorder. Not that that meant anything, but I thought it might put his mind at ease if we walked around a bit and filmed a little bit in the dark, because that's usually when he said things happened. And I had a little intrigue going on inside of me. And we did this, and I had a couple cops with me. And my belief was, well, I'm not going to film anything. I mean, I'm going to put this guy's mind at ease. There's nothing here. Do my best to try and come up with some sort of, I don't know, put his mind at ease. And after a while in there, we as a group started to sense and feel the energy change a little bit, I would say. And I ended up filming a 3-dimensional black mass object that I could not explain. And in the moment when things like this happen, you're not always able to digest what is occurring right in front of you. This object interacted back and forth, moved, blocked out the reflection in a chrome cash register where a light source, no one was anywhere near this, by the way. We were far away from this. Small handful of people in this cavernous, gigantic bar. And it had the consistency, I would say, of a woman's nylon, to where it's see-through, but it is not see-through. And after a while, it just went away. And I brought the camera back to the police department. We had a big screen TV in the detective's office. I plugged it in and watched it so many times over the next few days, hundreds. And the more I watched it, the more I realized what little logic I was looking at. And I would return there in an attempt to recreate this and come to a logical explanation, and I never could. Each time I went there, I left with something else. Whether it was a garbage can tipping over when no one was near it, different sounds, different images, and I started thinking, if this is happening here, things like this might be happening elsewhere. And I wanted to put together a group of police officers to investigate reported hauntings in the Chicagoland area. Nothing against anyone, but I didn't want a group of a milkman, a librarian, a mailman, and a mechanic. Policemen. We investigate things. We understand the preservation of evidence. We understand how to secure a scene. We understand how to do background investigations on the people that call us, in addition to the people that we apprehend. And I put together this group and subsequently named it the Chicago Paranormal Detectives. And as time went on, I'd buy a piece of equipment that I thought made sense, be it night vision cameras. Not that that's required, it's just something that I thought made sense. EMF detectors that can, record the fluctuation in the electromagnetic field of an area you're in, audio recorders, a thermal imaging camera, stationary cameras, tripods, audio recorders, all kinds of stuff. Keeping in mind, we are all full-time current policemen doing this. And if someone would request our organization to conduct an investigation, we would have to take a vacation day, a sick day, a personal day, take a night off, unless we could schedule it on a regular night off. And this took a lot out of our personal lives, but I felt that there was, I'm a service-oriented guy. I'm in law enforcement. I'm not minded to turn a profit. I'm not business-oriented. I'm service-oriented, as were all the guys that were with me. So if you could provide closure, answers, if you could explain away environmental contributions to things that people might conclude as paranormal, maybe you can help somebody. Maybe you can help them put their mind at ease. We did not do proactive type things where we want to go somewhere and check it out or invite ourselves. We were not self-initiating investigations. We didn't see a purpose for that. If there's no victim, there's no crime. So we were 100% reactive. If you're perplexed, if you're thinking of moving, if you're thinking of divorce, if you're thinking of leaving your job because you are so at odds with what you are experiencing, then you have our attention and we're going to see if we can come help you. And this went on for a while. We understood how to search, secure, and seal an environment, because if you do not search, secure, and seal an environment, it is potentially compromised. Just like when we're setting up a perimeter looking for a bad guy, you have to do the best you can to secure a perimeter. You have to maintain the integrity of a crime scene. You have to maintain the integrity of any scene for which you are investigating. If you don't, a lot of things can be considered contaminated. This is the approach we had. And we did this work for a while. And after some time, a lot of things were word of mouth. I had Pete Schleich, who was on the team. He was a policeman in a neighboring town, but he was a tech guy. I'm not a tech guy. And we put together a website, Chicago Paranormal Detectives. And at that time, I had my phone number right on there. I wanted it to be simple, to where you could just click on it and immediately understood what this is. You don't got to click on this, go to this page, all of this complicated stuff. I didn't want it complicated. I wanted it to look municipal. I wanted it to look professional, and Pete did a fantastic job in doing that. Shortly after that website was up, and I had the trademark on the name Chicago Paranormal Detectives, I got a phone call from somebody. And I didn't know the guy. And he was asking us all about our organization, all kinds of questions. And he said, let me get to the point of why I'm calling you. I says, okay. He says, I'm a policeman, also in Chicagoland. I thought of putting a group together like this, and I wanted to call it the Chicago Paranormal Detectives. Until I Googled it and your website popped up. And he says, did I mention this to the wrong person? Are you like kind of taking this idea over? I said, no, not at all. His idea was, since there was nothing like this that existed that cross-referenced law enforcement and paranormal investigations, that this would make an excellent television series. And he asked, would I be interested in that? Would I be interested in merging his guys with my guys, combined efforts, and present what the work we do to the television industry? I told him no. And he said, really? I says, yeah, really. I'm not doing this for that reason. And we hung up. And that was that. I think it was the next day. He called me and he said, I can't believe you won't take a shot at this. Come on, let's sit down and meet each other and talk. Well, his name is Tom Froelich. And he had the vision to take this idea and present it to TV. So I said, okay, fine, this is never going to happen. Just like when I walk into a bar with a night vision camcorder, I'm never going to film anything. I was proven wrong then. I says, okay, we'll try it. So the guys that were interested, some were, some weren't, came along with me to meet Tom and his guys. I believe it was Brian Jones and Scott Ziarko that we initially met with Tom. We went to this restaurant called Ram at Woodfield Mall, and we sat down and talked. And we decided, let's do this. Let's try this. Okay, what do I got to lose? I don't know. I didn't have my, stars in my eyes like, oh, I'm going to be a TV star. Never entered my head. No, nothing like that. I was also at the time interested in bringing a medium or psychic into the group. Now, a medium or a psychic, I think, is an extremely valuable tool, personality, skill, trade in doing work like this. Not because I'm going to take what a medium or psychic says and run with it, but if it can be corroborated what that medium or psychic says, if it can be corroborated, if it can lead us in a direction, in one direction versus another, it's a useful personality to have on your team. A lot like a polygraph machine, inadmissible in court, but it can steer you in one way or another. So there was a woman named Mariah Rhame, Rhame, and she does readings. And she was from far away. She was from Galena, Illinois. My God, 3.5 hours. But she would do readings for people. And if you had a party of at least 10 people, she would come and do readings. You had to make an appointment, and she was booked out about 1.5 years. So a buddy of mine at work, his wife booked her. And he said, hey, I know you're kind of like into this stuff. Would you like to be one of the people? I said, yeah. So lo and behold, the day comes when Mariah Rhame is in Melrose Park, my hometown, and at my buddy's house. And I sat with her, and we talked for 45 minutes. Of course, I did no talking. She did all the talking. And she said, you can record this if you want. If you don't like anything I say, I won't take your money. And I sat there because as a cop, we want to talk very little, and the person we're sitting with, we want them to talk a lot. So I provided nothing and sat there, and the things she said with specifics, accuracy, all kinds of details that were impossible for her to know. And again, when she's saying things, these things may or may not make sense to her at all. She's hoping they make sense to the recipient. She doesn't know. And one of the last things she said to me was, I see television cameras all around you. And I had to laugh. And I asked her, do you know who I am or what I do? And she said, no, not at all. I explained to her what I did for a living and what my side venture of the Chicago Paranormal Detectives was. And she said, that would make an excellent TV show. This was her immediate response to that. I says, well, I've been told that. I said, I'm looking for a medium. She said, I'd be honored. Now, this is a woman that lived 3.5 hours away. But she was all in, and I was happy. And shortly after that, we went on our first investigation, not for TV, but this is what we would do. And I had Austin with me, Tom Froelich, Brian Jones, Scott Ziarko, Mariah Rhame. I don't remember if Pete was at this particular investigation I'm talking about. But Austin was also a guy that I had worked with that was like, hey, you need to get a hobby with this stuff that you're doing. What the heck's wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. I says, come with, see how you feel. If you don't think anything is going on, you think this is all goofiness, then that's fine. But if you see or feel or witness anything of substance, I invite you to join. Well, he joined. And this was a case we did in Burbank, Illinois. Moving forward, we would put our heads together. None of us were in the TV business, and none of us really realized that if you enter into the TV business, you are now in the entertainment business, show business, which we'd not been in. We're cops with a medium and a couple of tech guys. We don't know. We're just trying to find our way. How do you do this? And we came to conclude that you need to get a production company to invest in you and film a sizzle reel or a demo. And then they, in turn, go and shop it around to television networks. Okay. But first we had to make a demo of our own to show a production company who we are, what we do. This is who we are. So we did that in Galena, Illinois. We went out there and investigated a place at 111 Main Street, which at the time was a restaurant, but used to be a casket company and was reportedly a haunted place. We got some evidence, some intriguing things, good footage. Scott Ziarko was a genius with being able to put together editing and graphics and all the things to polish it up and make it look good, voiceovers and all that. And we had this demo, 4 minutes, I don't know. And we shopped it around to some production companies, just, hitting the streets, knocking on doors, cold calls, all that stuff. And it dawned on me that right down the street from my police station was a place called O'Hare Towing. It was on Manheim and Armitage. And they had a TV show called Wrecked. And it was on some cable network called the Speed Channel. And I called over there. I knew the owner. I says, let me ask you something. What's the name of the production company you're using? He told me North South Productions out of New York City. Okay. You got a phone number? Somebody's name? Yeah, here. Blah, 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 blah. So I called. The next day, the field producer from New York City that was out working on the TV show Wrecked reached out to us and asked to meet with us at a Starbucks on Cermak Road in Oak Brook, Lombard area, and asked if there was anything we could send them. So we sent them our demo. So we sat down with her the next day and signed a 6-month deal, an agreement that they had exclusive rights to market us, film a new demo, and if in 6 months we're not picked up by a network, then we can all walk away. She was rather confident and happy about what she saw. We got nothing to lose. They're investing in us. They're investing money, time, and effort. Why not? We signed. Shortly thereafter, they came with a camera crew, filmed a demo, a new one, a little more polished, a little more, involved, and they shopped it around. And there's periods of time where you don't hear anything. That's usually when stuff's going on. If you listen on the radio, if you're a cop, or you can understand this, even if you're not, it's very easy to understand. When there's a car chase on the radio and the officer is giving off his locations and his speed and this and that, and then there's silence for a few minutes, that's when something's going on. Be it a foot chase, somebody's getting handcuffed, tackled, there's a fight, something. In the moments of silence, there's usually behind the scenes actually stuff happening. So lo and behold, one day, we find out at that time, there's a 3-way tug of war between the Spike Network, Spike TV, the Discovery Channel, and A&E. They all want it. North South Productions ended up going with A&E. They came up with the biggest offer. Discovery, in turn, picked up a different paranormal show called Ghost Lab. A&E picked up our show and chose to call the show Paranormal Cops, which is the reality show about the Chicago Paranormal Detectives, us. And we began filming, I think it was January of 2009. Cold. And we did 6 episodes, all in Chicago suburbs, none within the city limits. Just happened that way, that's all. These were real places with real situations, real problems, real concerns. These were real investigations. Now, a half-an-hour TV show is what this was going to be slated to be. Half-an-hour TV show without commercials is 22 minutes. That takes 36 hours of filming to get it down to 22 minutes. And although we were credited as executive producers as well, final decisions on how things look, audio goes to LA, video goes to New York, this goes to Florida, this piece that, this is beyond us. We're just people, cops. The production company hired some very talented freelance producers, guys that had made and created Ghost Hunters. If anybody's familiar with that show, that was the first reality paranormal show in America. They did our show. These are skilled guys, experienced. We had to do some dry runs because the camera crew, none of them had worked in the dark before, in night vision. So we had to do some practice runs and other things. And I had to say to the camera crew, listen, if you feel, hear, experience something, it's okay to break that fourth wall. You can speak up and say, hang on a minute, I'm picking this up on my mic, or I'm seeing this. This was unusual for some of these guys. They never did paranormal shows before. Most of them, the sound guys, the camera guys. It was an interesting ride. Our debut episode came out. We filmed until about January to April 2009. Show didn't air until the following January 19th, 2010. And there were some commercials on, maybe a week or two before. Not a whole lot of marketing, really. A&E's number one TV show of all genres was a show called Paranormal State, another paranormal show. And this was a show about students at Penn State University that investigated hauntings. Their number one show, highest rated. And our initial debut episode was going to be what they call a lead-in. Paranormal State is going to go on the air, and we're going to follow immediately. We're going to be in that time slot. And A&E felt this was a guarantee for people to tune in. So January 19th, 2010, in the morning, we do the Man Cow show. We go down whatever channel he was on at the time, WLS AM or something, and plug the thing that way. And leading up to this, there's the Boston Globe, San Francisco Chronicle, the Sun-Times, the Tribune, all kinds of interviews. And once it's a press release is set out by A&E of a new show, then all the journalists come out of the woodwork and they want to interview you and talk to you and, try and get coverage of this. We also had a premiere party at America's Bar in Hoffman Estates. Sold tickets, had people come out and celebrate with us, and we wanted to meet people and have them meet us and all this kind of stuff. This is nothing any of us were used to. So the show comes out January 19th, 2010. We all get together at Gibson Steakhouse in Rosemont. And we watch it, and the numbers come in, and they're okay. Not over the top, but they're okay. The show debuted in North America, Mexico, Canada, and the whole United States on the same day. Subsequent days, it would go into Europe, all over the place. And again, we only did 6 episodes, like a half a season. And our first debut episode, well, that was filmed in my hometown at a place we came to discover known as the Casa Madrid at 25th Avenue and Lake Street. And on my next episode, we're going to talk about that investigation and so much more. I'll be doing videos like this, the backstory of Paranormal Cops, probably once a week. And I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your questions. Thank you for tuning in. More to follow. Jesus Christ.